When you arrive in Carcassonne by train and step out onto the parking lot, you're greeted by a typical charming French country town.
Carcassonne is located in the south of France, an easy one-day trip from Paris by train. The high-speed train, or TGV, takes you most of the way, but then you must transfer and take a slower local train along the coast.
The scenery on the last leg of the train trip was beautiful, but after the luxury of the TGV, it was very crowded and not as comfortable.
Well, once we arrived, it was worth the train ride, and the train was a lot more fun than flying. The first thing that catches your eye when you leave the train station is a beautiful canal.
Yes, that's the Canal Midi, built in the second half of the 17th century to connect the Mediterranean to the Atlantic Ocean. Today, it's a wonderful way to see the French countryside at a nice, slow pace on a comfortable canal barge or a more modern riverboat.
The castle itself sits high on a hill above the town and is one of the best preserved in Europe. The history of Carcassonne is very interesting. It is located in a very strategic place between the Mediterranean and the Atlantic and was important long before the canal was built.
It started out as a barely fortified hill, but over time became one of the most formidable and best protected castles in Europe.
To get inside, you must pass through multiple gates. You can stay in the lower town, but it is much more fun to stay in the castle itself with its thick walls and fairy tale atmosphere.
Accommodations cost a little more inside the castle, but are worth the extra money. We stayed at a Best Western like none we have ever seen. When you stay in the castle, you can drive in or take a taxi instead of having to park outside and walk. We visited in the winter, so it was not crowded at all. We were told that over 3 million people visit each year, and most of them in the summer, when it's packed with tourists.
I found some great spots to just curl up and read a book, and the dining room was very French elegant. It must have been fantastic hundreds of years ago to get ready to go to church or off to meet royalty or even the French Pope that lived here.
The patio seems like the kind of place to have tea or spend a quiet afternoon visiting with friends, or just reading some French fashion magazines.
Carcassonne was built as a fortress located at a crossroad for trading and travel. Its 2,000-year history can be seen in the layers of stone and the design of its towers and walls.
It was where people went when they were threatened. As you walk between the outer and inner walls, you can almost hear the sound of battle. This is where the town residents went for safety, bringing their prized animals with them.
The lower you go on the walls, the older the stones, some dating back as far as the Romans. Some of the towers are classic Roman design. They were definitely built for shooting at someone who was not welcome. The gates are complex designs, making it hard to enter if the castle was under siege.
Late in the 11th century, two boroughs were attached to the city, the Saint-Michel and Saint-Vincent. They come right up to the walls of the castle.
I bet that was a great place to grow up. All the little alleys and places to run around, and all the kids probably knew how to sneak into the castle and play. And if you were lucky, you would get invited to a party in the castle itself.
In the 11th century, Carcassonne was rich and prosperous. Taxes from traveling merchants were raised, sometimes reaching half of the value of the products that they sold. In 1248, the second wall was built to make it clear to everyone that they could not conquer Carcassonne.
This is the period when much of what we see today was added. At the time of the war with the King of Aragon, Philippe III was known as Le Hardi, or the Bold, adding the Narbonnaise, the Tower of Treseau, the Saint-Nazaire Gate, and all the parts of the surrounding enclosure. Repair of the several Gallo-Roman towers.
This made the city powerful, and it was considered to be untakeable. Carcassonne was peaceful until 1355, when the army of the Black Prince put the sack and wiped out the unfortified lower town. I guess it was much better to live behind the walls than down in the town.
Over 1,000 years ago, the church was the center of the community and an important part of the political power of the time. Pope Urban II blessed the materials in 1096 for the Church of Saint-Nazaire. It is an amazing church with incredible stained glass windows.
Yes, it is. It's actually built on the same location as a Visigothic one built in the 5th century. The one we see today was partially destroyed in the 13th century when the French took possession of Carcassonne. They ran out of money, so they had to leave part of the Romance cathedral and only built part of it as Gothic. That's what still stands today.
Well, I like it a lot. One of the windows I really like is the South Rosace from the early 14th century. It has the coat of arms of Bishop de Rochefort, who lived in the early 1300s.
The window in the Sainte Croix chapel in the south transept represents the Tree of Life. This theme stems from the meditations of the Franciscan Saint Bonaventure, 1221 to 1274, on the virtues and kindness of the Redeemer. The branches around the central trunk illustrate 12 virtues. Towards the top of the tree, Christ appears nailed to the red cross that is attached to the green trunk of the tree. The tree thus becomes the tree of the cross and the tree of eternal life.
Just outside and around the corner is the Très Cher Hotel de la Cité. Rooms cost from €275 in the low season to €375 in the summer. For just €2,200, two people can stay for 3 nights in the big luxury suite for a New Year's special. According to the website, it includes a big New Year's Eve gala dinner with New Year's Day torchlit medieval walk through the Citadelle with some unusual encounters.
I wonder what those are. Well, you can count me in for when you come back.
One of the things they used to do if the castle was attacked was put the wooden structures on top to help protect the defenders. Who is that guy walking over the bridge?
Probably some lucky guy that was staying at the hotel. Oh!